All right, looks like we're streaming now and recording.
Great, fantastic.
Let me bring on Sean. That's... Hi, Sean.
Greetings, everybody.
Hi, Sean. Welcome.
Well, everybody's just 3 people so far.
Yeah, we have a few excused. I'm just waiting on Paige and Kevin, hopefully, or Lee. But we are recording at this moment.
Awesome. And then I got your email. I'll be happy to help. Robin, I just got to find
the
time.
Best. You are the absolute best. Thank you, Sean. Well, I'll talk to you more about it in detail, but I just wanted to see because you were so helpful.
No problem. I'm not at home, so that's why I'm not. I'll be on, but I'm not going to on camera. Okay.
Yeah, no worries. Just happy to have you. That's the beauty of Zoom, is you can do this from anywhere.
I mean, there is some value to that.
Yes.
We'll give them a few more minutes. It's just, I don't know, people are just running late today or something.
It's Monday.
Well, yeah, Mondays are always, you know, people are starting a new week, and I love having things on Monday, but some people it's hard to pull it together.
Yeah, today was a rough day, so I barely got done at 6 o'clock, and I'm usually off by 4:30.
Okay, let's see here. Well,
Give it to 7:05.
okay, okay. And then what we could do is we could call the meeting to order, do the attendance, and then start the public comment, and then go back to the minutes. If we can't do it, then we can't do it.
Okay. Yeah, only one person in the participant.
Attendance, yep.
It's surprising. It's weird.
But-
I missed something. Is something happened today I don't know about? Okay.
All right, so Colby, why don't, let's see, what time is it? You're gonna wait one more minute, and then you'll call the meeting to order. And you haven't heard from Lee, have you?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Well, with
All right, so let's call the meeting to order. Call the.
yeah, we'll call it. That's what we want to start by saying. It's what 7:06 p.m. We're not going to vote on anything tonight.
We don't have quorum yet.
Informative session for the public and our committee members, the few that are here. They will open the meeting, and we'll just do roll just to do it.
Okay,
I'm here.
Yep.
Robin, you're here.
yes,
And
Paige,
Paige?
put excused,
Chess is excused. Tony was excused.
yes,
Kevin Dees, I don't see. Jay Goldberg excused. Sean Bashardi is Sean. Raise
Yes,
your hand.
sir.
Hello, officially. Thank you. And Lee Jameson, I don't see.
okay, so we only have 1, 2, 3 committee members, so we don't have quorum.
Yep. So
We
no
have
vote.
one person in attendance, one public.
Yep, and stakeholder. And okay, that's it. That's the attendance. Let's see, minutes. We will not be voting on the minutes tonight. We'll skip ahead from that. Public comments. Jonathan, anything to say? Yes, let me get you here. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, thank you. Thanks very much. Let's see. First, just a note, because I might forget, Robin, when I read through the minutes, when you prepared them, you forgot to take out the word stabbing and change it to the word homicide. So if you go to look at part 4 is 1 mention and part 5 has 2 mentions of the word stabbing. Okay.
Yes, I got the email from Tess and I was going to make that announcement.
Oh, that's okay. Here's my public thing is, I read carefully the agenda, and these are the things, I'm going to list them out, the things that I would like to see on the agenda, this agenda and agendas in the future until things start to get solved. So I'll give you my list and hopefully you'll take a look at it and consider it under your own judgment. One of these is a CIS to fight the causes that are known to cause crime. And I've written a letter. I sent it off today to every board member. So rather than go through it all here, I'm going to ask you to just read my letter. The next thing is to consider approving a form like another neighborhood council uses that invites non-performing, call it non-performing private property owners and businesses to participate in a cleanliness or a sort of neighborhood program that everyone tries to keep the place looking orderly and clean because that discourages crime. Another thing is to consider creating an initiative to rock in that area on Sarah and Vineland. Robin, you mentioned before that Beautification Partners works in all of Greater Toluca Lake.
Yes.
So perhaps you'd like to consider approaching them to get that rocked in because of the homicide that occurred near it. We'll talk more about that later. Also, an initiative to talk about the underpasses, perhaps putting murals on them that don't make it look crazy like some murals do, or adding lights to them, but opening up the discussion for what we can do about our underpasses, the 2 of them, in order to discourage any future use like we've seen in the past. Generally, I'd just like to close by saying, I think it has to be understood. Stakeholders are really fed up with I think it's actually voters all over LA are really fed up with the level of permissiveness of what is known to be illegal conduct. And it's not the police's fault. And we'll talk more about that later. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, Jonathan. And Robin, I see Paige has joined us too.
Oh, fantastic. Let me,
Yeah, hi there.
Hi,
okay,
Paige.
what time is it? 7:10, Paige joined us. Let me make note of that. Hold on, 7:06. Joined meeting at 7:06. Okay, thank you. Paige, welcome. We're glad you're here. We still,
Thank you.
4, 5, 1, let's see. Do we have enough? No, we still don't have enough. Maybe Kevin will come on. 1, 2, 3, 4. We only have 4 people here.
We need one more, I believe, one more. Is it one more? Yeah, I think 5.
Yeah, we need one more. So
Okay.
let's be hopeful. Maybe somebody will join in.
Okay, we'll move on to,
I wanted to add one thing before we move on. Jay Goldberg will be leaving the Public Safety Committee. So he will no longer be on the committee. And so next month's agenda will not have him included.
Okay, thanks, Robin.
Sure.
We'll move on to committee member news and announcements. We don't have any on deck right now, but I believe Officer Delbar is assisting with Lakers or something like that, right? Right, Robin, like tonight?
Yeah, not the Lakers, the
Oh, it's SoFi.
NFL.
SoFi.
Uh-huh.
He's getting ready for the SoFi.
Football. Yeah, there's a lot going on because of Super Bowl, so he's on detail. So he will, let me put not in attendance. But I did want to mention, I guess I could do this as Neighborhood Watch. I needed to ask Officer Delbar how other areas can get the crime map or get on the crime map or a list of how, their area for crime maps. So I want to talk to him about that. And then, we have, and I think I've got it way down below, but I'm going to talk about it now under Neighborhood Watch. We have issues with lighting, lack of lighting and dark places. And the other day I was walking in the neighborhood and the gal that I always walk with brought me a lighted vest that she got on Amazon. I think it was $14. And the two of us were walking with our flashlight because it was at night, wearing our blinking vest. And somebody said hello and thank you for being safe in the neighborhood because they could see us. But it made me wonder whether if maybe down the road, if the neighborhood council might invest in some of these vests to distribute at maybe a function if we ever get together again. But these vests make it look like there's people and that, maybe it's a security thing. Maybe they'll think, we're all on the same team and it might help prevent crime. So any sort of awareness or optic to have people see you in the community at night is probably a good thing. So I just wanted to point out that vest, which was pretty cheap, and there may be even cheaper ones out there, but it was really effective. And other than that, we're looking for watch captains on other streets that are lacking them. And I've recently gotten a few new watch captains. So, our watch is growing. It's really flourishing right now. And thanks to people like Sean, who's a watch captain.
I see Jonathan has his hand raised. Let's see.
Real quick.
Yep.
I was going to just say real quick.
Sorry, Sean. Yeah.
For Robin, with respect to that map, there's a place on LAPD's website that has those crime maps. I'll see if I can find out other areas, but
That's great.
I'll take a look and see if I find it, and then we'll redirect you the link if I find it.
Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, Jonathan.
Am I muted? Oh, I am. Okay. I don't mind if we jump around on subjects and stuff but it means on Zoom, it's hard for me to know when I'm muted or not muted. So I don't know when to say anything or not, but having to do with Officer Curtis, that subject, before we move to the neighborhood council, I wanted to mention a few things to you. Even if he's not here, I think it's an opportunity for us to talk about this. Is that meeting that we had, meaning I was there, Tess was there, Sean was there with Captain Mohammadi, and Officer Delbar was there and a third officer. Number one, I think it's really important for board members to make an effort to appear when I realize you have jobs and things, some of you, but nevertheless, it's just really important for us as a community to show up, especially when the captain shows up. And what I wanted to say about that meeting was the reason I was there is I really wanted to know exactly where that occurred so that in my own head, I could look around and say what was likely and what wasn't likely, having to do with what are the dangers for people when they just simply take a walk out in our community at night. That matters to me because I wanted to know where it happened so I could calculate in my own head, not on anyone else's opinion, but where it looked like this crime originated from. And what that means is the closer it is to that underpass, the more likely it would be that trouble came from the underpass, but also even while we were meeting, there was a tent encampment on that area that we're hoping to rock in. So there were a lot of reasons for me to be there, but I want to tell you, I want to report to you, because you weren't there, that answer never came. The captain didn't know exactly. It's like a 200 or 300 foot radius where they think it happened, because no one actually spoke to, I think his name was Ayala, and it's been transferred to another investigator. So no one actually connected. In other words, it's the bureaucracy that's preventing our community from knowing exactly what happened there. And I do think it matters exactly where, so we can stand there and look around and say, what are we to do about this? What were the causes likely, even if we don't ever know exactly? So to that end, I wanted to talk about it. And I wanted, again, to ask you to do your best to help us all get that area rocked in, or even if they're not going to clean up the underpass there, let's try to get a big, like a gate system or something where people who have no business being there in the first place don't drift into our residential area, because I have a feeling, my gut instinct is that's exactly what happened, but I just don't have enough information, and we should have more information. Thank you.
Actually, I agree. I went there with last Sunday. I walked West Hook Lake with Tess Taylor, and we started at Sarah and Vineland, and again, I was surprised when Tess was telling me that the officers, despite her repeated questions, didn't know where the murder occurred. And generally, we walked in front of that apartment building. We walked on the underpass. I saw there are two big tents, one outside the underpass and one more on Riverside.
I have information about that because it was kind of serendipitous, because after everyone left, Officer Delbar and I were standing around. We were just kind of conversing further. And then a gentleman from the apartment that it happened in came out, and he's neighbors with one of the people that lives in the building, who's that person who was unfortunately passed away. So we got a lot of details about that. And I was actually waiting for the next public safety meeting. If anyone had any questions, I was going to actually bring that up. But there was a lot of detail that was happening. Obviously, I could always take this offline with anyone who would like to know, but we did get a lot more information about a lot of the information about where it happened and how it happened.
Well, tell us now.
So evidently the boyfriend, the man that passed away, and his girlfriend, she lives in the building where this happened. He lived next door, 1 block to the west. And evidently they went out at like 1:30 in the morning to get more champagne from his place. And there was a gentleman that was hiding behind the cars, and he just jumped out, yelled MS-13, stabbed the guy, and there was a scuffle and everything ensued. And that was kind of the quick and dirty of it. That's the short version of it. And he kind of described, because he talked to the neighbor, he talked to the woman whose boyfriend who had been murdered. And there was a lot more information that was disseminated. And I was kind of hoping that Delbar was going to talk about it, because
he wanted to be here tonight. He just couldn't make it.
Yeah, and I know he'll have more information to disseminate. But we did find out, it was just unfortunate, Jonathan, you'd left, and it just kind of happened that this gentleman walked out concerned by why there were so many police out, and he wanted to know if it was pertaining to what had happened. And we kind of told him what was going on. We told him what we were trying to accomplish by doing, by having us out there. We're working on the idea of trying to get that area somehow, if it's a rock garden or if it's planting a ton of rosemary, which is very dense foliage, something along those lines that will allow us the opportunity to make that area a little bit safer.
I know. No, when I went there the other day, last Sunday with Tess, it was just, with people, there's two big tents and dark areas, because it borders, it borders the freeway. So on one side you have apartments, and the other side you have just a fence and a lot of greenery, and it's dark, and if there's a way we can get lights over there. I guess that would be DOT, I'm thinking, because it looks like their property, but again, it's such a patchwork.
And then on top of that, and to one of Jonathan's points, he's like, it's not like anyone is allowing them. Unfortunately, the court systems have, there used to be a point where you're not allowed. There is a law that says you're not allowed to camp, but there's been newer laws that have been brought to court. People have sued and won. So now, whereas before you could only have, you know, a 55-gallon drum's worth or 60-gallon drum's worth of what you could keep as your own. And they use that in terms of, I think it's overall space, not in actuality, a 60-gallon drum. But that has been changed to an unlimited amount. So unfortunately, there's been a lot of recent legislation that has passed that has prevented and kind of handcuffed the police and preventing them to do the job that they were hired to do in the laws that are actually on the books.
I know, and then and Tess was telling me, she showed me all those low-lying shrubs underneath the big power lines, and she said that there's drugs frequently hidden in those shrubs. I guess it's a drop point. I guess it's a dead drop. I get for drug dealers where they hide the drugs and then the buyers pick it up, and it's bad. So it was so sad to see where this occurred and just to know someone was murdered, stabbed to death, and right where I was standing. It was just awful.
Colby, can I report to you something else that I talked about with the police?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I think it's when office what's his name, Captain Mohammadi was with us at the neighborhood council meeting. You remember I asked him if he could suggest ways that the neighborhood council could make the job of the police easier or more effective. And he didn't have a lot to say. So I went back to him about that while we're standing there face to face. And he did say clearly that the policies, and just like Sean said, he called them COVID ordinances, that was the words he used with me, were definitely in the way of enforcement. And this is all about, I read about CISs, that CISs are typically issued for pending actions by the city council, but in this case, not just. In other words, it's something, if I was unmuted before the meeting, I was going to ask you guys, because I don't understand this at all, is when we send a CIS, we're going toward the city council. And maybe you understand this better than me, but I'm not able to understand how we're actually affecting what goes on in what they call the LA County, because that's the sheriff and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of confused about it. I'm not finding a lot on the internet to understand it, but in later time, hopefully we can talk about this and figure out, but I hope the neighborhood council will be much more involved in what's going on in Sarah Street, because those residences there are really close to that really precarious area. And it really does need the help of the neighborhood council. And I'm really just asking for your, be thinking about everything we can do, barriers, making the area less attractive, lighting it, murals, taking over that space, having a summer concert under that intersection. That underpass, anything that brings people into it and drives out things we don't want, the crime, we have to deal with it head on, and we have to do it together. Thank you.
Yeah, I walked underneath that underpass with Tess, and it's pretty wide. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there could be a fence. I know underneath the 134 underpass at Foreman, there's a fence erected that takes up about half of the sidewalk space of that underpass area. But again, maybe if a barrier were put up, there still has to be pedestrian traffic allowed, a room for that. But then maybe DOT wouldn't want to put that up because then they'd be worried that the homeless encampment would block the entire, I don't know, it's hard. But getting back to what you said about LA County, we did have our LA County supervisor on I think it was our last general board meeting, and that might be because I know there's city council and LA County supervisors, and I believe the supervisors are supersede. It seems like LA County. I'm sorry, our council. So I'll talk to them to see what we can do. The problem with LA.
I can't figure out if a CIS.
It's hard. The CIS goes to, but I understand it goes to our city council. But that's right. Different from, as you know, from the county. And Jonathan's confused. That's why the problem with that's why we're working with Louise Oliart, because he has a whole, as you know, you've seen it, the whole flow chart to deal with certain homeless encampments here or there or there. It could be LADOT, it could be LAPD, it could be all these different things. And it's unwinding this knot. It's very confusing. But especially on an underpass, because then you have
Step at a time, and we have to be
Starting-
creative and inventive. Like if we had a music festival in that underpass, I sent Tess some pictures of what Northern California has done with some of their underpasses. And one of them looks just like ours, but unfortunately they spent $5.5 million doing it. So that probably isn't going to happen. But they also have another intersection where they just did some really cool things with murals that don't look trashy. They're, but then again, you got to deal with vandalism to anything we do. But I was thinking, go off of the roadmap and think, well, what if we started having our activities in that space? I mean, maybe there's more lights and to bring people in there and drive out unfriendly characteristics. But anyways, I'm not saying I've got the key, but I just think we have to think off the map and start doing things that maybe the rest of LA isn't doing. But, we're small enough and rich enough to be able to do stuff to take better care of ourselves. And I think that's what I'm after, especially for those Sarah Street residents. They're really close and they're afraid.
Well, I agree with your philosophy. It's just, as you know, we just can't do it. If we had all of millions of dollars, we just can't do what we want to do without permission. And that's
Step at a time.
And
Right.
Colby,
we got to move on. We got to move on. I know.
Colby, I also wanted to just say that, first of all, Jonathan, always thank you for your suggestions, your advice, and just your participation, and we appreciate that. And for the future, maybe you and Tess and your West Toluca Lake residents can form a committee who could bring ideas and suggestions to the neighborhood council. So, we're a sounding board, and we will take that information and forward it on to our city council member. But, all of these ideas and suggestions usually are done in a think tank or some sort of committee or organization. And then we all work together to try to get an idea passed. But, I appreciate all the suggestions. I think it's great. You're thinking outside of the box. I do know that there are a really difficult, when you say a music festival, you have to think about, first of all, COVID, and second of all, porta potties and parking and what the congestion would do and bring people to the neighborhood. So there are other issues that you would have to address with that kind of thing. But I love the ideas. I think it's great. But I also wanted to just say, Jonathan, that that special meeting that they had with Officer Delbar, it was a last minute, the next day meeting. It was meant only for the neighborhood council members. I'm not sure why you were on the call at all, because it was not offered to the public. It was done through, for the board. And I was on the call, and I know Colby was on the call, and I do think Sean may have been on the call. I can't remember.
Robin, excuse me, what are you talking about? I'm talking about an in-person meeting.
Yes, the Captain Mohammadi.
It's in person.
No,
We were at the site.
This one was, it was on
No,
Zoom.
you got the wrong thing in mind. It was at the site.
Okay, then I did
Right.
have it wrong, because
And this is a committee, but anyways, it's not helpful to
Jonathan,
talk like this.
I really feel like you're always attacking us, and
I know you do. It's not an attack. We're talking about subject matter. Colby, I think we should move on because it's not helpful.
Okay, well,
Okay.
I appreciate your suggestions, Jonathan, but I do sometimes feel like, we're trying, we're really trying, and I just wish you would.
It's
see it.
not an attack.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Let's move forward. Jonathan, thanks again. And
Yeah,
I walked. It wasn't in the in-person one, but I walked it with Tess last Sunday, and I was there. Okay,
Do you
moving on.
understand what I'm talking? I'm talking about when there was a meeting of Captain Mohammadi, Officer Delbar, and a third officer. I forgot his name. Sean was there. Tess was there. A couple neighbors were there. It was at the corner right there during the day on this 19th of January at 3:30 in the afternoon. Okay, that's what we're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on. LIDT, Steve Rostam's not here. I don't think we have anything new, but he would be someone we want to talk about regarding this issue with the underpass at Vineland. Robin, we're done with committee member news and announcements, I believe.
Yes, and the homicide we've already discussed, so we can move on to do we have any update on the Mrs. Robinson attacks that were in August?
I don't have any. I know it's got a lot of press. Sean or
Well,
Page.
it's gotten a lot of press because I think the wife of the
Your wife.
attacked was trying to get some publicity because they weren't moving very quickly with the,
It worked. It worked.
it was great.
Okay, I don't see any hands raised with that.
Okay, so the homeless count, we still need photos when it happens in February. So if anybody attends, to please take photos, because Toluca Lake Magazine was looking for photos to add to their article.
And then the homeless services guide. Again, if anyone has an issue, a comment on any of these things you're going through, raise your hand. Homeless
And
services guide.
actually, I think Outreach in their last committee meeting talked about this Studio City homeless guide. So they may run with this. Is that correct, Paige?
Yeah, we did talk about it. The committee was all on board with moving forward with our own version of it. They felt that very few additional updates would be needed, and so we put it on the agenda for the full board meeting next week.
Great. If you can reach out, and I'll send you his info to Louise Oliart, and maybe have him join that meeting to make sure everything's lining up. If
Sure,
like,
I think Tess spoke with him, and he was able to send us actually the working file for that document so that we could make changes to it. So he's aware that that's something that we're doing, but we can certainly make sure that he attends the next meeting.
Okay. All right. Anything else regarding the homeless services guide?
That's great. Thank you, Paige. That's wonderful.
Thanks, Paige.
No problem.
Doing a good job. All right, we'll just move on to new business. I don't see any hands raised. Party houses and halfway houses. When I walked West Tooth Lake with Tess on Sunday, she pointed out one halfway house and 2 party houses. I guess it was a real big issue. It's gotten a little mitigated in the last few months, so it's getting a little bit better again. And she showed me the, as I brought up in the last up top here, the shrubs and bushes for the dead drops for the drugs in West Toluca Lake. Also, she showed me some areas of street repair needs I see we have one on Ledge, and I saw one on a sidewalk and also in West Toluca Lake. I saw a big hole in the ground on the sidewalk. I guess we talked to street service earlier. Well, that's a 311 issue.
Well, I was going to say, Colby, there are
311.
several potholes that I have reported with my LA 311. So if you do see potholes or need of street repairs, please open your app and file a complaint. And when that big accident happened on Riverside Drive, it was a huge car crash at Ledge and Riverside. Once the investigation was over and everything was cleared, there was a lot of trash that was left on Riverside Drive. So I took a picture, I immediately put it on my LA 311, and the city came and cleaned it up like almost immediately. So I don't know if it was in the works, but I let them know and they took care of it. So there are city services that are very, very, very helpful. We just need to utilize them.
I found the graffiti removal services extraordinary within 24 hours, and I called on 4 spots, and they cleaned it up within 24 hours each time. I'm very impressed. It's a great app. It has the location services on the app, the maps, and take a photo, insert the photo, beam it up to them, and they take care of it.
And it's really
great
easy
system
to
work.
use.
I've used it recently for graffiti, and within a day or two, the graffiti is gone.
How about the graffiti at the on-ramp going east on Ekawanga? It is a graffiti menagerie.
Oh,
Yeah, there's right above Vendome, the board, and then there's one that's also right above
Oh, right.
on the other side of that strip mall that is on Riverside. When you're heading westbound from, let's say, like Zanku Chicken on the right hand side, where the that store that used to be there that was part of St. Charles, that billboard's just absolutely laced with graffiti. But I was going to ask Colby, with respect to something you and I spoke about a while ago, about something that Rachel Foxhead was working on with the area that's on Vineland northbound from Moore Park to Riverside, where they were supposed to.
is that the Chase Bank building area?
Further west. So Chase is on Lancashire and Riverside. This is where the bike path is on Vineland between Moore Park and Riverside. there's that stretch right there that they were going to be redoing the streets. There's something that was already approved. And Rachel Fox had been working on where they were
Yeah,
going to
that I don't know why got delayed for some reason. They were going to stripe the street and put the bike path on the inside of the parked
Correct.
cars.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was going to be curb, bike path, parked cars, street.
correct.
But we haven't heard anything from it, and it was approved. But we just that was something that was, because that street's really dangerous right at the end of Vineland right there, because cars fly down the bike path with just complete disregard.
I believe that. I know when we switched over from CD4 to CD2, Rachel Fox was at CD4. That might have gotten pushed under, but let's bring that up at general board. Well, CD2 should be at the general board meeting next week, and we'll set, and they should have an answer for you.
Sounds good.
Okay. Any other talking points? Let's see. Dark area. Yeah, and back to at Chase, they had the Sean. I drove down there. Actually, with Tess Taylor, that dark alley.
The one I was telling you about.
Yeah. I want to see it for myself, and it's scary. It is scary, and there's no lighting at all. It's all private
None
property.
whatsoever.
I don't know how we would manage that. It's private property, and
It's 100% private property. I don't think there's anything that could be done.
No. They're gonna. The big plan is to develop that property, as you know, as we talked about, and hopefully that would receive lighting during that development.
When that development happens, that driveway will no longer exist.
Well, yeah. What we do? He's going to come in. I mean, sure, he'll come in and talk to us before he develops that, and we will definitely strongly encourage him as much as possible to put in more than adequate lighting.
I mean, if they could just, part of the issue was that people use that as a thoroughfare between the underpass at Lancashire and Riverside to go to the underpasses that are at Moore Park at the 134 and Vineland at the on-ramp at the 134. It's just like, they just use it as a shortcut. That's all it is. If they eliminated that and they had to walk around, it would be a completely different story, because they'd have to walk on Riverside, or, it would be much more difficult for them to go through through the residential area.
Right, and people there's a problem. People urinating and defecating there, and I'm sure there's
100%
drug issues there, and it's just a breeding ground for anarchy back there. Again, we'll have to wait. I think we'll have to wait for the developer and really push him to do that. Okay, moving on. I see anything else under new business?
Yes, Tony gave me a website to contact to get free COVID at-home test kits, which is www.covidtests.gov/. So I'm sure many of you have already ordered your home kits, but if you haven't, please order them so you at least have some available to you. And
you're saying, and also just remind folks that Universal Studios is offering free testing.
Yes, free testing, free parking. It's really easy. They do the rapid and the PCR test. So if you
might do that tomorrow. You might do that tomorrow, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're open from 9 to 4.
Good enough. And then your idea of lighted safety vests, I like that idea.
Yeah, I'm telling you, those lighted vests really, first of all, it made me feel like I could be seen, because when I walk at night, it's pretty dark. I mean, to look like it's dark, we have very old street lamps that are just not exceptionally bright. And, as new homes are being built throughout the city, more homes are doing more lighting to the outside of their homes. So some areas are more lit, but there still are very dark spaces. And criminals love dark shadows, so highly suggest more lighting, motion lighting. And it's the best thing you can do for your property is to put up more lighting, lots of lighting, and leave it on all the time. Turn your porch lights on at night and leave them on. Don't turn them off.
Yep. And I also hear trim the hedges next to your windows and doors by your house. Don't have thick hedges, because that gives criminals a place to hide as they're trying to break into your windows and your home.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't, anything else in our new business? Any other comments from the public? Okay, Jonathan?
No?
Robin's reaction leaves me in a curiosity as to what are stakeholders supposed to expect from the neighborhood council. I don't feel, as a consequence to what I'm hearing, that there's really any momentum or motivation to take on projects that have to do with the greater Toluca Lake and its safety. These are black and white issues. They're not personal. They're not about any one individual board member, but there are problems out there in the community. So to talk about them like we need to create some sort of a bureaucratic, this is a committee. This is where work gets done, where suggestions are feted, where we talk freely. That's the whole purpose. That's the whole thing. And to use the power of the neighborhood council to address the city. And I don't feel anything happening. So it's discouraging. Had Robin not said what she said, I wouldn't feel so discouraged, but I just want to leave it at that. I feel a discouragement that I take the time to communicate out the black and whites and maybe suggest clearly suggestions. And this is not the place to poo-poo them. This is the place to take in information and to sort through it and say, what can we do as a community? How can we use the power that we do have in order to communicate with elected officials who have the ability to change things for us? So I'm feeling frustrated right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Well, I just want to say, Jonathan, I hear what you're saying. And I, again, want to say I appreciate you attending our meetings and giving suggestions. And this is a think tank. We do hear you, and we do discuss certain things that we want to see happen in the city. I can almost guarantee you everyone on this committee 100% feels safety is the first and foremost in our hearts, living in the city that we live in. We all want it. I just have a really quick question. Jonathan, when you said that you wanted to see in your mind, more information on that homicide, Jonathan, when was the last time you visited Toluca Lake? Were you in Toluca Lake recently, like Colby just walked west Toluca Lake with Tess? Have you been here in a while?
I was there on the 19th. Actually, we're not supposed to have a dialogue, Robin, because it's really hard for them to keep notes. I don't mind, of course. But yes, I was there for that meeting with the police.
That's wonderful. And that's really great. And Jonathan, again, all of your participation is always welcomed.
Of course it is. We don't need to say this to each other. I mean, everything a community member does is to help the community. Hopefully, I don't see anybody acting against the community. But what we can't do is take things personally or set other people. It just isn't like that. There's too much at risk here. A homicide's a homicide. I have every right to tell you that I wished you would have been there. And I don't think it's...
I didn't even know about it, Jonathan.
I don't think it's... Robin, I don't think it's an awful thing that you weren't there. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is we can hear ourselves, see ourselves, and try to do better, because what's happening in LA is unacceptable. I do want to tell you that when I use the term Detroit with palm trees, I want you to know I didn't think of that. That was Arthur Leffer, who he studied what happened in Detroit, and he has concluded that LA is going over the tipping point based on its social and economic policies. And the only thing that will prevent LA's demise into a real state of chaos is if we, the people, really stand up to some of these policies that are being inflicted on us, that are making our lives really dangerous. And that's not about you or me as individuals, but that's about you and me as a community. And that's what I'm trying to talk about here, is that none of this is personal, but it really does stress us, and it makes us defensive. Yes, you're the neighborhood council, but it isn't your fault what happened there. But it is our job to take a look at it and say, what can we do? What can we do to make Toluca Lake, greater Toluca Lake, stand like a community that people wish they lived there? Of course, they do it at an economic level. They see the pretty houses. It's a rich community. Okay, I'm not saying that. But based on, we're completely permeable. We're seeing that the crime that's going on around us is just blending into our community. People getting knocked when they come out of a restaurant, all of that kind of stuff. Also, our bylaws make it seem like it's your fault because Colby's the one responsible for anything not on the agenda, and that's not fair. I don't hold Colby.
Jonathan,
I couldn't do such a good job.
this is lovely, but we need to, we're getting off topic. And I appreciate, again, I'm hearing everything you're saying. We as a committee are hearing what you're saying, and we will.
Thank you very much. We can cut it short. It's fine.
I agree, Jonathan. I'm worried that LA is turning into Detroit on the West Coast, and that's
We
what
have to
really got
stand
me.
up to it.
What really got me onto this board was when I had, I found people in my house in the middle of the afternoon, and I had to chase them out. And the police took an hour and a half to arrive, and they said pretty much you're on your own. So it's awful. But thank you for your input, and thank you for your stamina and with your ideas and hanging in there for all these meetings. Okay,
Right.
I don't see any of the.
Our next meeting is Monday, March 7th at 7 p.m. Go ahead and call the time.
We're calling it 7:47 p.m.
Thank you, Colby. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you. Good night,
Thanks. Have a
everybody.
good night.
Stay safe.
Have a good night, everybody. Take care.
All right, thanks, Sean.
Bye.